Hey everyone, welcome back to Teenager Therapy. I'm Gael.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Kayla.
And welcome back to another episode of Teenager Therapy. Now, I guess we'll just cut straight to the chase because you saw the title of this episode, and I don't know why this feels like I'm like awkwardly.
I feel so anxious right now for some reason.
I know my heart's kind of beating
No, me
faster
too.
than it
No, me
should.
Wait, yeah, why do I feel anxious? Oh my gosh, that's weird. It feels like I'm trying to like confess my love to someone, and I'm debating if I should do it because once you say it, it becomes real.
I think that's what's happening. Because once you say it, it's real.
Once you say it
Well,
into the mic,
Yeah.
Go on and say it, Gael.
break the
Why am
news.
I getting emotional already? Like
Stop.
this is, oh my
No,
god, this is
that's
not
not-
good. This is not the episode for that.
No.
This is not the episode for that. Get those tears back up. So, as you saw from the title, it's official, guys. On September 18th, 2023, the last ever episode of Teenager Therapy will be uploaded.
Now I'm getting emotional.
We all just got emotional.
This is our second to last episode of Teenage Therapy. We're ending the podcast. The podcast is ending. It is coming to a conclusion after this episode. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
and you get one more episode after this. This isn't our goodbye episode.
Yeah.
So we'll save our thoughts around it all. But I figured I didn't know how to talk to you about this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bring it up. It's not you.
We don't want to blindside anybody,
We
but
don't.
we dropped
No.
hints.
We did
in
drop-
the
We dropped a
other
lot of
episode.
hints.
Yeah.
So maybe you. Caught
And our
on to
5-year
it.
mark was coming. I mean,
It's not you guys. It's us.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Was never you guys.
was never
you.
It was all us.
it's always been.
It's always been us.
It's always been us. Look, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Why is Teenager Therapy ending? What happens next? What happens to us? What are we doing? What's going on? I'm scared, Mom, Dad. So we decided that, I feel like you can kind of see it coming. Everyone always asks us, what's going to happen to Teenager Therapy after you guys are no longer teens? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? We figured it out, guys.
Everyone loved making those. Are you guys gonna be adult therapy?
Literally.
now?
College therapy. No.
We have
Wow.
to end the podcast. Well, you're not going to be teenagers anymore.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
look, all your manifestations came true. So
You guys wanted this.
Yeah.
keep that in mind. This wasn't okay. And
Now it's you.
now it's there's a couple reasons why we feel like ending teenager therapy. It's just time. One, we're no longer teenagers, you know? Like that's the main thing, I think, is just teenager therapy, the brand doesn't represent us as well as it did years ago. I feel like I'd feel silly if I was 21, 22, being like, oh, what's the name of your podcast? Oh, Teenager Therapy. I don't know. I feel like the name really put us in a bubble of what people expected and what people thought we were. And so we decided, we've been thinking a lot about what we were going to do with Teenager Therapy and, could there be like a new generation? Are we going to do something together? What are we going to do? But I think it feels right to end it now and not another year, because for a moment we thought maybe we could do it till after we graduate college, and that's like the end, college graduation. We took you through high school and now college, and that's it. But I feel like 20 is a good age. We've all just turned 20.
Yeah. I think we've all outgrown the podcast just a little bit. Like, we all adore it. And as you guys just saw, we got emotional about ending it. So it's not necessarily like we are like, oh my God, like we are just sick and tired of it or we want to end it. It just doesn't feel right doing it for much longer.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't enjoy it either, because I certainly still love podcasting. Really, it's just, I just don't think the brand represents us. I don't feel
Yeah.
teenager
Yeah.
And I
therapy.
think now is just the time for us to explore our own projects and what we're into without having this tie to the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. It's so sad, but I guess it's just a part of growing up, you know? We're not teenagers anymore, and I guess life is just letting go.
Yeah. And so that's the first reason. There is more to it than that. And the one that I think also for me has been a pretty big factor over the last couple of years is that we don't own the Teenager Therapy name and the brand. And this gets a little bit more into the technical details. So, IP, intellectual property, trademarks, and all that. And to give you context, when we were 16, we ended up essentially selling the rights to the Teenage Therapy name and the brand to another company. And that company being Flight House, which is owned by Create Music Group. And you might have heard of Flight House. They've done stuff on TikTok, and they have a big TikTok account. They always have big YouTubers and TikTokers on their channels playing games and stuff. And when we were 16, we were approached by Jacob, who we actually had on as a guest. He was our first ever guest. And he really liked what we were doing. And he was like, hey, you guys should come and work with us and we'll help you grow the account. And of course, we were 16 years old. We had just started. It had been like a couple months. We had just started the podcast and it was doing really well. Everything was going great. And I was intimidated and I was like, I don't know what to do, because he was saying like, we'll partner with you guys. We'll get Teenager Therapy and we'll grow the pie and we'll turn it into something bigger and help you with the legal stuff. And we'll figure out the business side of things, get you an editor, get all these things. And it seemed like a good deal because one, I had no clue how we were supposed to like manage it. Like, was I supposed to create a company? I think the legal of it was intimidating, like taxes. Like, if we're making money, how do I pay you guys? Do you need taxes? Do I pay you, your parents, myself? Who's like the legal? I didn't know how to do any of that. And I remember when we first talked about it, we were really considering our options. We were like, should we do this or should we not? And I was like, I think we need to do it to grow and be able to not worry about that because I don't know how to do it. And so long story short, we we made this deal with them where they would essentially control and own the IP and they bought the trademark off of us and they would just come on as our partners and they would help us handle the legal of it and we could continue growing the show. And it sounded really great. And actually, for the most part, it was because we no longer had to worry about like setting up a company, an LLC, a legal entity, or doing taxes or getting an accountant or getting an editor. They did all that. They hired all the people that we needed. We set up a process. We had like a team behind us, which made things a lot easier when it came to getting guests or booking sponsors and stuff like that. However, I think in a lot of ways, the deal also was not a good one because of how young and maybe we're a little naive, because we could have got all that without selling the trademark and the IP. And we really did not need to sell the rights to it. And actually, most podcasts don't. And so most of the time, the way it works is you enter into a deal and you have like a revenue share. So most of the time you have a deal and you have a rev share, and that means you get a percentage of the profits and leaves it at that, and that's how you partner. But unfortunately, 16-year-old me didn't know any better, and I thought selling the rights to the name was just a given, which I feel frustrated on now because I remember my mom telling me like, don't sell the rights, like ownership is important, don't sell that, tell them no, like you shouldn't sell it, like I don't think it's a good idea. But I was like, no, I think it is, I think I have to. At the time, like I think it's a lot. It sucks because it has to do with that first gen mindset of scarcity and feeling like if I say no to this and like if I stand up for myself, maybe the whole thing will go away and you won't be able to do it and you won't want this anymore. And so I was too scared to be like, maybe we shouldn't sell the rights. I thought I had to, which I guess is a lesson to all of you out there. If you're young, keep ownership of it. Keep the rights, stand up for yourself. Don't be scared to lose a deal just because of your own insecurities. That's the biggest thing we have to learn if you are first gen. So a little life lesson there that I wish I knew when I was younger. But we ended up selling the rights. And so after that, Flight House was our parent company and they helped a lot. They helped us grow the channels. They got us a lot of really great sponsorships and partnerships, and in a lot of ways, they definitely did help, and they were a great team, and the people there were amazing, and it really felt like just having people behind us. It was great. It was a great time. There's so many people there that we love. But I think, honestly, it was a double-edged sword because we didn't have the best terms, and I think that stripped a lot of motivation from us because we weren't even getting the majority of the profits for the majority of the time that we were under them, and still are, but for the first 2-3 years we weren't even getting a majority of the profit share. And I think in a lot of ways it did affect our motivation to continue innovating the podcast and creating even bigger things. I remember having so many ideas of things I wanted to do, things we wanted to work on, but remembering that we didn't even have a majority rev share, we didn't have ownership, really kind of was like, okay, then might as well just do the podcast and leave it at that.
It's sad because Teenager Therapy could have been so much more. It had a lot of potential. I remember we had a lot of ideas about expanding it and turning it into this really big media company, and there was just a lot that we could have done with it, and unfortunately we just can no longer do that. However, that doesn't mean we're gonna end it here necessarily. But yeah, sad, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think, yeah, over the last 3 years you might have noticed, we weren't doing anything different. It was really just the podcast, and we kept it at that. A big reasoning for that was we just didn't have the motivation, the right incentives to continue building this brand that we don't own. And so it felt a little exploitative at times. And so fast forward, now we're rethinking about what we're going to do because we're no longer teenagers. We don't want to do this same podcast forever. And we also want to know that we have ownership over it. And I think all of that accumulated into us feeling like, now it's a good time to end it. There's just more reasons than not to end it. One, we're no longer teens. Two, we don't even own the name or the IP or the rights to it. We're really just working, but for who necessarily, right? And don't get me wrong, it's been amazing. It's been a blessing having this as our full-time job essentially for the last couple of years. That's been incredible. But yeah,
all good things come to an end.
Yeah. And so the big question now that we had to figure out is what's going to happen to Teenager Therapy, the brand, after it ends? What's going to happen to our social channels? What's going to happen to the podcast? So there's a lot of questions that we want to make sure we're clear about everything. So that things aren't just going to disappear. First of all, thankfully, Flighthouse did allow us to keep the rights to our social channels. So they know that the podcast is us. I think the plan for them has always been to build a bigger brand, but Teenager Therapy is so inherently attached to us. When you think of Teenager Therapy, you don't just think of, this mental health brand. You think of these kids that started this podcast. And so I think they realized that our audience is here for us and not for just the name Teenager Therapy, the brand. They're here for us and the content we made. And so they said, that's true. You guys should keep your accounts and we'll go and start something new elsewhere. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And so at Teenager Therapy, if you follow us on our social media, whether it's our TikTok, our Twitter, our YouTube, Instagram, all of that is under the at Teenager Therapy handle. So what's going to happen is it'll be a gradual rollout, but Flighthouse, Teenager Therapy's parent company, is going to take the at Teenager Therapy handle and they're going to move it to a new account. So they're going to start over and they're going to start from scratch, building out the content that Teenager Therapy will hold. I'm not sure what that will be. We don't really have any involvement with that as of now, at least, because we don't want to keep working if it's not with ownership. And so we won't have any say over that. So, yeah, all the content is going to stay archived under our own accounts. So our Instagram, our TikTok, our YouTube, our Twitter, all of that will still have all the episodes of Teenage Therapy that ever aired. It will have all the videos we uploaded, everything. That is not going to disappear. That's staying the same. But I want to be clear that when you see at Teenage Therapy over the next couple months, I don't know if it'll take 3-4 months, half a year until you actually see anything, all of that new content will not be affiliated with us. It will not be produced by us. We will not have a say in it. It will be completely independent. This new team of people under Flighthouse will be producing that content, and I'm not sure what that will be. I don't know what their plans are for that. But just know that is not us. That is not us. And so, when will all that happen? I'm not sure. What I can tell you now, though, is I think our TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube will probably remain an archive of Teenage Therapy. So the name will probably be like Teenage Therapy Archive. So that will kind of stay the same, and it'll live on the internet forever. But there are 2 main channels as of now that will look different over the next couple months. First of all is our Instagram, the @Teenage Therapy Instagram. I feel like we have a big community there that it doesn't feel, that's our most active community, and it doesn't feel right to just leave it and like disappear and do nothing with it. And so a little bit about what our plans are for that is that we want to turn it into I guess kind of like a discovery brand for new Gen Z podcasts. And the same thing goes for the Teenage Therapy RSS feed, which is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. When you go and you click on the Teenage Therapy show, you see all the episodes. The episodes will stay there, but what are we going to be uploading moving forward? And what's going to change with that? Because there might be a change of title. That's what we have to explain next, which begins with what is next for us? What happens to us after Teenage Therapy?
Would you like to start, Kyle?
Okay, so what comes next?
I feel like your plans are more exciting.
Well, what comes next? Well, first of all, we've mentioned it briefly before, but over the last 7 months, Kayla and I started working together and we launched a podcast company, podcast network, podcast production company called Astro Studios. And it's very much a Gen Z self-help podcast brand. And our goal with that is to produce more podcasts and create more shows that, just like Teenage Therapy, help you feel less alone. All based around Gen Z and such. So me and her are continuing to kind of work on that and growing that into something that we both feel passionate about. It's still very early on, so who knows what it could morph into. As of now, we have one show that we've produced under that brand, under Astro Studios. It's called Friend Group, which is a collection of 16 different people answering one question that a lot of young people navigate. And you could actually listen to that now if you want to see what we've been up to. Search up Friend Group on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to the episodes. You could also follow us on Instagram at Astro Studios and at friendgroup.xyz and astrostudios.xyz. So that's on a bigger picture what we're working on. But what comes next for us in terms of content? Because as much as we don't want to admit it, I guess people do see us as content creators. And I guess that's what we are. So are we going to have a new podcast together? Are we going to have our individual shows? We kind of have answers for that. We kind of have answers. So after Teenage Therapy ends, we will not have a podcast together. So no young adult therapy, no college therapy, guys.
No adult adolescent care or whatever.
None of that. So we won't be having a podcast together for many reasons. But what we will be having, well, at least for me, is that I want to continue creating podcasts and podcasting. I already have my own individual show that I've had for the last like 3 years that I upload like 3 or 4 episodes a year. It's called Unfinished Thoughts. Some of you might have heard of it. So I've already been doing this, and I've always liked the idea of also having an individual show. And I guess after Teenage Therapy, this is just a chance to explore. Honestly, for me, I think I'm excited. I'm actually really excited to do something on my own, just because I feel like it'll leave a lot of room for my own creativity and just whatever I want to do, whatever I want to make of it. And I'm excited for that. So I will be creating a new podcast. I hopefully it will launch in December or in January, as soon as I could come up with the concept and the name and get episodes recorded. But I want to create a new podcast. And so that's what's next for me. It's this new show that I'm working on that I'm really excited for. And I'll just continue making content, uploading it, and just being a podcaster, living my life. If you want to stay up to date on that, follow my Instagram at GaelAitor, GaelAitor. Please follow me. Don't lose me. Don't lose me. So that's my plan. Honestly, I think I want to. I thought about this. I was like, what do I want to do now? To be honest, I think I want to try to take content creation more seriously, and be a lot more of a content creator than just half-assing it. So that's what I'm gonna try to do.
Well, similar to Gael, I'm also dabbling in the idea of creating my own show. I don't know the exact route I want to take it. Right now I'm definitely leaning towards just exploring womanhood, and that area. But again, nothing is like solidified. But Gael, how you mentioned, I just feel like the projects that I've had have always been tied to like a group or like partnership. And so I think being able to explore something solely on my own is going to be very interesting. And I'm curious to see like how it works out. But I don't have an exact timeline for it. I don't want to rush anything. And this is something that I just want to take my time with, because I don't want to. I guess I just don't want to start out with like the wrong intentions. And so I want to be really mindful of like what I want to create and how I want to portray it out to the world. But besides that, what am I going to do after Teenage Therapy? Going to enjoy my time as a student, going to be working on Astro with Gael, which is going to be really exciting. Make sure to follow. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot to mourn, but yeah.
Nice. So right now I'm gonna be taking a break from podcasting, and I've never been one to really create content. Like, I don't like to think of myself as a content creator. So I don't know. I kind of want a break from all of this, from the podcasting space, from like being like a public figure. Like, I don't like that term because I don't think of myself as I don't want the attention right now, and I want to focus on life and just my own personal journey without the pressures of having to worry about like an audience or make money or commercialize on it. I want to enjoy my life right now. And like I always say in the last episodes, I want to exist and like just enjoy being like a human being and whatnot. But I wouldn't say that I won't return to this space. I mean, I've done it for 5 years, so clearly something has kept me around, and it doesn't feel right to abandon you guys. Like, I would love to come back. I don't know when. I can't promise anything, but yeah, I guess I I don't really have big plans right now. I'm looking forward to my mundane little life and just experiencing things. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. And so, with that being said, now I guess I can more properly explain what to expect the Teenage Therapy Instagram and this RSS feed, which this channel that you're listening to on Spotify, the podcast itself, like what happens to that if we can't use the name? There's still a lot to figure out as to how this will happen, but I want to make sure that there's a lot of people that might follow us and that haven't listened to episodes in a couple months might come back and be like, wait, where are they? Where'd they go? So I want to make sure that you guys know where to find us. And what we're going to do is, for now, Teenage Therapy will remain Teenage Therapy, but we want to create, like I said, this brand that represents is almost like a channel to find Gen Z podcasts that are similar to us and that are cool and that we like what they're doing, and use the accounts and the audiences that we've built on these and the following that we have to uplift other creators and share their podcast. And if you guys have a podcast, maybe you'll live on the channel as well. And what I mean by that is this will be a place, for example, on Instagram. On Instagram, I think it'll start off with, once Kayla and I figure out our shows, you'll see clips of our shows, you'll see announcements of our shows, and we'll give you updates through there. And so you'll get to, for the people that don't know what's going on, they'll realize like, oh wait, you have your own show now, and then you can follow our own individual Instagrams and such. But the RSS feed as well, you'll be able to hear episodes from our shows. And so once we start uploading episodes, you might hear or see that there's a new upload on this channel. And so that's what it will be. And of course we'll have our own podcast pages that you can follow and interact with. But yeah, I mean, we have this big audience and this big following, and we might as well use it for something. And so that's the plan. So eventually you might see the name change. You might see channel this, you might see it called this, and be like, what is this? So we'll have to properly explain to you that this is what Teenage Therapy is turning into. And so that's what's going to happen with that. So it will be a couple months. I don't know. I think over the next couple weeks, as the podcast ends, you'll see just us closing out our Instagrams, just kind of saying goodbye, and all the content will be archived. And so that will have been Teenage Therapy. I think that's all there is to say as to what to expect, what's next for us. Things will stop for a while.
I think you covered everything.
Things will stop for a while. But we'll be back soon, hopefully, with our own shows and our own accounts. And you could always follow us, our personal Instagram accounts, and keep up with us there. Yeah. I wonder what it's gonna look like. Like I don't know. I feel like there's so much to figure out. It's like, guys, like,
there's so much unknown.
There's so many unknowns.
Like, next week is our last time recording. It's our last. It's so sad. But I mean, even since Thomas and I have been in school, we've come every week. Driving down.
It's our routine.
It's
been a part of our routine for the past 5 years.
We make it fit into the schedule, and so now, it's just weird, I guess.
It's very weird.
I don't know. I think recording this episode, it's sort of settling in a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be until next week.
I think next episode, there will be tears.
There'll be a lot of tears.
There will be tears for sure. Yeah, lots of unknown, but not all of it is scary. It's exciting too.
Yeah, I'm very excited to just creatively make a new show, see where that takes me. Maybe I'll be a full-on influencer.
If you see Gael promoting Temu, mind your business.
Download Temu, Shane.
If you see-
use his yes style
No,
code.
I know. If
My
you
yes
see
style
him
code in
as
my
a
bio.
boohoo man, like
Boohoo
mind
man,
your
please.
business,
Boohoo
guys.
man. No,
He's getting his
boohoo man.
bag.
Yeah.
He has
Gotta-
nobody to tell him no now. He
Gotta
can
make
go
a living.
crazy.
Gotta make a living somehow, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes recently I've been thinking about the fact that like I feel like maybe content creation and being an influencer is like the only job I can actually do well and like do. That's the only job I can do because I don't have to rely on like I don't really need like that big of a team. I don't need to rely on anyone and it's just like me.
And I think it comes naturally to you too. I think you're a very authentic content creator too. Whereas like if I didn't know you and I came across your page, I would be like, oh, this man shares a lot, you know? In the
Yeah.
best way possible. So,
Oh, this man overshares. Fuck is wrong with him?
So I think
Yeah.
I think I'm excited to see you take a real honest shot at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excited to see what comes for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I become a fucking TikTok NPC on the live streams. You see me in New York, bro. We should call the Uber now, bro. Thanks for the roses. Thanks for the roses.
You
All
should
right.
you should
All
make
right,
a
then.
food segment because you love food.
I become a food influencer. You see, like
Honestly,
those-
that's so fitting.
I could totally see like as a segment, not as your full thing,
Yeah.
but like
I mean,
Oh.
you already do it on like your Instagram.
oh yeah, you already do, honestly.
I'd be
You have
like-
a rating scale and everything.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's do it, guys. No, that would trigger like every possible worst habit in me if I did that. I would go down a rabbit hole. You'd see like what happened to Gaio 8 or 5-year transformation. All right, guys. That's it for this episode. This was just we didn't want to catch you off guard. We like thought about how to like we can't just say bye and end. Like we had to kind of give you heads up. Just
We could not figure out how to go about this for the longest
yeah.
time
There's
possible.
no easy way to say it.
There was
How do you
no
break up with
easy-
someone?
Exactly. I'm
This is the
sorry.
worst breakup I've ever had.
But
Nah.
it's not no contact.
It's
It is
not
not.
no contact.
No.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely gonna stay friends.
Yeah. We
Please,
can be friends,
yeah,
you guys.
exactly. Reach
If
out
you
to
want.
us.
We just can't be
Yeah.
that intimate anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
at least for now.
yeah. Please follow us on Instagram at Teenager Therapy. We're gonna be posting a lot on there throughout these next couple
At
days.
Gao Ator, at _ Kayla Suarez, at _ Thomas Pham.
And at Teenager Therapy while it's still out there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And please come back for the next episode. It's the last time we will ask that of you. Please come back.
For us.
For us. This is the only episode you guys need to be back for.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.